And here is our first guest tonight.
Hi.
Good evening. Welcome to the show. Maybe let's start with the basic facts. You're a screenwriter.
I didn't think of myself as a screenwriter for a really long time, even though I wrote a lot of short stories. I remember like in fourth grade, no, it's going back a bit, but we were writing these short stories and the teacher always read mine out loud and it just made me feel confident. I was like, that's pretty cool. So, because not everyone's got read, only like me and this one other kid. And so so after that I started writing poetry and would do open mics and do surrealistic kind of poetry, and I started getting a following for that. So I was like, well, that's not that hard for me to write poetry. I want something more challenging to do. So and I started thinking about writing a book, and then that didn't work out because I just did stream of consciousness type of writing instead of structured writing. So I got some really good, valuable feedback from this guy who's a writer, and he said, try writing it as a screenplay first. And so that led me to think about film school. And before I started film school, I started writing a screenplay. I just read books on how to write one. I didn't, so no formal training until I went to film school. So yeah, I've written about 5 or 6 screenplays now, and I co-wrote a TV pilot and lots of short stories and short movies. So I write for the camera. I write feature screenplays. So they're fiction oriented. Hopefully they'll be like in either theaters someday or on streaming services like Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus.
Yes.
So,
okay. Now, what was the first show you binge watched? Or any example? Yeah.
So Lost was one of them. The TV show Lost.
Yeah.
The Battlestar Galactica, the new version of that. I mean, now it's Loki.
Well, how do you see the difference between a short story and a feature film and let's say a whole series? What can you express and want to express in these different styles?
So short scripts are short. So that means, so the story is going to have to be fairly simple and has to have a very clean beginning, middle, and end, and a resolution. And you need to say it in a lot shorter than you would a feature. So usually those kind of ones, and the short scripts, you don't usually get money to make them into movies. So the best thing that I found is making them more character driven rather than action or something that requires money. So instead of writing a screenplay from beginning to end, you focus on certain parts in the screenplays or on certain pages and having these concepts in those sections. So for instance, in the first 10 pages, you want to make sure that the main character has a goal, their personality, their skill set, why what their flaws are, and you have a hint of why they are flawed. And you understand what they're up against. So those things need to be included in the first 10 pages. And then it's a good idea to have the antagonist introduced. Right. Yeah. So I have 2 different shows that I'm doing right now on YouTube.
Yes.
One of them is with the guy that I've been working on films for a really long time, and we wrote a TV pilot.
Do you have any examples for where you think the hate is a major topic?
Well, we can talk about Loki because before the series started, he was angry and jealous of his brother because his brother got more attention from their stepdad or his stepdad. Before the TV series was made, they had a series of movies that was about Thor and Loki. Loki was not given as much attention from his stepdad than Thor was. Maybe because that's his biological father. I'm not sure, but he was overlooked, and so he became angry and jealous of his brother, and he decided he wanted to have power for himself, and he ended up becoming the villain in the stories. So he carried that over into the TV show at the beginning. So he was full of anger and he didn't want to listen. And so through the course of the story, he starts getting friends and he starts realizing that he doesn't anger and being powerful are really lonely and it's not really going to help you in any way to do that. It's not really fulfilling. So he ends up slowly over time changing. Yeah.
Because it would have been a
just
flat line of hate, 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 and nothing changes.
nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're just full of anger and hate,
Yeah.
there's no there. You're just you're a cardboard kind of character. There's nothing.
Yes.
Nobody can relate to you. You want your audience to root for all your characters, or at least understand
Yes.
why the antagonist does what he or she does.
Then the other, let's say the other extreme. Do you have any example where you say the movie, a movie really shows love?
Could be anything, and
Yeah.
and if you like, could be like, let's say your main goal in life is to become a dancer or to
Yes.
be a singer. Could be something like that. And like maybe there's so many obstacles preventing that. Like maybe you don't have the money to do it. Nobody in your family believes that you can. Maybe you have like 500 kids and there's no time for practice, you know.
Okay, so it's being passionate about something.
Yes.
What about love between people? Do we have any example from your side about that?
So like, okay, I can talk about like the X-Files. You know, there's this kind of idea of like, will they or won't they get together because they're work buddies, and there's a lot of friction between those two main characters, and so it is a kind of a toxic love for a really long time because Mulder is very opinionated, and he's more of a leader type and takes charge, and he's not really considerate of Scully's where she's coming from, and doesn't really take her scientific mind as
Do you think it was convincing how it was shown? Do you think there was love between them, or at least from one of them to the other?
I think Scully was more interested in him than he was with her. Yeah, it's kind of a complex issue because I think Mulder did care for Scully. I mean, like you said, he did save her a lot of times. But I think that his personality was more like very focused on his goals rather than any kind of like taking care of other people.
Any other examples?
Pretty Woman might be one. It's about it could be, but it's not really like it's a toxic kind of love. It's not healthy because, you know, she's a prostitute and he's paying for her. So I watched a Wes Anderson movie about a couple months ago. It's Asteroid City. We actually did a review on YouTube about this. The narrator, and we see that he's the one writing the story, writing the movie. In the movie. In reality, he's in love with one of his characters in the story.
He's in love with the fictional character in his mind.
Yes, that he's writing. Yeah, it is. It's science fiction, but it's because Wes Anderson has a very distinct way of telling stories, so you can't really just take it as if it's actually happening. It's literal. You have to just go with the flow, and it's not clear whether or not it's happening in real time or not. So the way that I interpret it is that it's Wes Anderson who's writing this, and he's creating this character in this movie to represent himself. I tend to write more like stories that are like sci-fi and fantasy and supernatural because to me, I can be more creative in those genres. For instance, the characters I'm working on now, they live in the real world, like contemporary world that we live in, but they have a very different anatomy than human beings. So they have to work in the real world and live in the real world with keeping secrets. I relate to male heroes and female heroes. And I think everybody's like that. They are introducing more female heroes, which is a good thing. That shows that, you know, because I think if you only show like white males, what's going to happen is you get people that are thinking that white males are the ones in power, that they have the choices, and people are not really going to they're going to feel disenfranchised by the whole thing and marginalized. So it's good to open it up to diversity and showing all kinds of people, whether it's their gender, sexual orientation, culture, ethnicity. race, all of that, like showing that diversity as heroes is a good thing. Women are not that different than men. And so having your hero have issues that are not necessarily female centric or males that are just male centric in their whatever it is their goals are isn't really important. To not just feed into the stereotypes that we often have where
Yes.
men are out to work and women are staying home. The hero really needs to have something that a specific flaw that makes them makes us invest in them. And they also need to have like something that we can identify with as far as their goal. So if you have
Yes.
those two things and you don't make it about their gender, or I think that's a good step forward. And a male can want to be a famous musician as well as a female. The best way for people to support me is to get on the YouTube channel and subscribe to it. So it's at Lori Gabriel on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Then we can
That's
put
the
that.
best way because then it increases the chances that when I do after I get a literary manager and get meetings with executives, they can see I already have a built-in fan base.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's more
Yes,
likely that
absolutely.
they'll give me some attention. Even with a great script, you need a lot more than that. Go to any of the social media sites and just like and follow and comment and do all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Okay, then I will tell everybody to do that. Thank you so much.
Right.
Goodbye.
Thank you for the interview. And here is our second guest tonight.